Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
And we're back talking all things real estate. And so, we thought it would be a great opportunity. We've been doing some different things about definitions and questions. And so, Patrick, what do we have?
Well, I figured we address the most frequently asked questions
Right.
when people want to sell their home.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, let's jump right into it.
Let her rip.
This is probably the most common question, like the most common question.
Okay.
When is the best time to sell? I have a house, a condo, it doesn't matter.
Sure. I think, and we've had this conversation. We did, I think, I'm sure we did a video about when is the best time to sell, but just generally speaking, because, I don't know when you're going to see this, but regardless of what's happening in the market, the best time to sell is when you need to sell. If you need to move, if you need to upsize, downsize, whatever the case might be, change cities, whatever it is, that's the time you need to sell. And it's a matter of, working out the numbers so they make sense and figuring everything out and having a realtor that knows how to manage what's going on in the market, how to deal with what's going on in the market, and give you good advice, give you good information so you can make a decision. Because the other thing is people say, well, wait a minute, it's not a seller's market, but you're still going to need to buy a home.
It almost doesn't matter if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, because if you're a seller, you're likely to be a buyer.
That's correct.
So let's say it's a slow market, it's a buyer's market, it might take longer for you to sell. You might have to concede a little bit on a repair condition, something.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you're that buyer in the buyer's market.
Right.
So you have the flexibility moving into the next property.
Yes.
Or if it's a hot seller's market and somebody paid way more money for your house, competed for your house, well, you're going to be that buyer
in the same situation. Yes.
For your sale.
Yeah.
If you stay in the same market.
So to go back to what we were saying, and what I was saying is that the best time to sell is when you need to sell. People
list their houses all times of the year, right? So that answers that question. Traditionally, if you had the luxury of picking a time or scheduling it out, you know what? Most people would say spring is the best time.
Yeah.
But there's pros and cons to that too.
Sure.
There's more competition that you're selling against. You're competing against the other listings that are out there.
Right.
But it's also typically the time where the most buyers are available. So just to keep that in consideration. All right, BJ. Now that maybe we've decided a time that we're going to sell our house, how should I prepare my house for sale? Some highlights, because
Sure.
I know we can really get deep into that.
Yeah, and I know we spent time going over it in more detail in a different video also.
Yes.
But just on a really, really, really basic level, what should you do? You should fix if there are obvious things, you need to take care of those things.
Repairs.
So obvious repairs, do the obvious repairs. If you need, to put a coat of paint, then give it a coat of paint. If you've got holes in the walls, that's probably a time to fix those holes and take care of that. If you have yard work that needs to be done, take care of the obvious yard work as well. Nobody wants to, be coming through the jungle to come into your home, if depending on how it's laid out or what, that kind of thing. Another really easy thing that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to getting your house ready to sell and making sure it looks its best is put in good light bulbs in all of the lights. Make sure all of the lights work. Make sure all of your faucets work and they're not leaking. Make sure if your door hinges creak, put some WD-40 on it or something so that everything's moving smoothly. And that hardly costs you anything to do, but it just makes an impression when somebody comes through and sees a bright home with nice clear white paint or whatever, and it doesn't have this light is burnt out, that light is burnt out, this is not clean. And that's the other one. Of course, clean the home. That's what I would say.
Right. You want to make the best impression on the next person that's going to be living in your home, that they feel that this home's been well looked after.
Right.
And of course, clean all the things that you've been meaning to do for repairs or stuff around the house, get them done.
Yeah.
That's probably, I like how you wrap that all up.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one thing to add to that is declutter and depersonalize. You hear this from every home
stager. Moving anyways.
Yeah. And so the idea is not that you have it so Spartan that it doesn't look like it's lived in, but if you've got a wall with pictures of your child from kindergarten through, graduation, this is probably a good time to take those down, or take most of them down. And, you want people to be able to come in and envision them living there.
I like that you use the word Spartan, and I think like, oh, you have like this minimalistic house. It's a Spartan house. I just need X, and X.
Right?
I don't need anything else.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. All right, so now we've decluttered, we've done some repairs, we've cleaned up the house. What if I know there's a problem in the house? What should I disclose to buyers, potential buyers?
Well, you have to disclose if you know something. We call that a material latent defect. If you know there's something wrong with the home that's not visible to the naked eye, you need to disclose that. And, typically we have a property disclosure form, and on that form, you'll be able to indicate right in there, hey, roof was leaking at this point, we fixed it and have had no issues. But you still need to identify, maybe not the roof part if it's fixed over 5 years ago.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna add a question onto the list. What if I don't disclose something like that?
Well, potentially you're going to be liable if they move into the home and find out that there's something wrong. They are going to come back to talk to you, or their lawyer is going to come back to talk to you.
Right. So if you know of a problem, disclose it, please. Yeah.
It's always better to err on the side of disclosure.
Awesome. All right. Next questions are on value and pricing. So, obviously people are going to be asking, when's the best time to sell? If that's not the first question, the second question would be, how much is my home worth? So we're not going to give a specific example because we're talking in general.
Yeah.
How would that come up?
Well, so we determine the value or the market value of a home based on the comparable sales. So what do homes that are similar in size, age, finishings, and lot size, what are they selling for? How long is it taking for them to sell? And we're going to look at those numbers, and it's not an exact science, but I give all of my clients a range. I talk about the Prince Charming price.
Yeah.
Right? If Prince Charming comes, he's going to overpay for your home, and this is what you can expect. I call it the fire sale price, and that's not necessarily a bad thing to do that either, because you can end up with a whole bunch of interest and end up in multiples that pushes you quite a bit higher in the price. But again, that depends on the market, and you have to, be thinking about that. And then there's what I would call, I use a sports analogy here, but the sweet spot, mm-hmm. right? This is where you want to be, and this is where, typically you're going to have the best chance in terms of showings, in terms of interest, and your price is reasonable. And some people don't think this, but they think, well, won't somebody just write an offer if I've listed it for too much? Won't they just write an offer at a lower price? And what you find out is people won't even come and look at it.
They won't bother. Yeah,
right?
It's out of their price range. They don't feel like it's attainable.
Right. Or they'll come and see it, and then they'll still be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Not for that price.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Great. So let's say we came up with a number. Hey, BJ, but my assessed value is X. It's either more than what you're saying or it's less than what you're saying.
Sure. If you're watching this video in 2023, your assessed value on Vancouver Island is going to be higher, because the assessed value is what your home was assessed at in 2022 at the height of the market. Okay? And that assessment was based on an algorithm. It's based on, essentially a computer deciding what your home is worth for tax purposes. Okay? So,
right.
So sometimes your home is worth more than it's assessed for. because I have yet to meet anybody who said, "Hey, I got my assessment and I'm calling the tax office to tell them that they need to reassess my home because it needs to be higher so I can pay more taxes."
Of course, I don't hear anybody say that. They
Right.
would rather argue it lower.
Right.
Yeah.
So the assessed value is really not that relevant to the value of your home. It's relevant to what you're paying for taxes. It's relevant to maybe what was going on as a trend in the market. But the true value of your home is what the market shows us from sales.
What it will bear.
Yeah.
What the market will bear.
Right.
Okay. What is the difference between a list price and a sale price?
Well, we list it. Look, so let's just use some round numbers. Let's say we've listed a home and it's $500,000. So that's the price that we advertise. That's the price that we market. Somebody comes in and we'll use both sides of the coin. We have multiple offers and somebody comes in and they have offered 510.
Okay.
And we accept
over.
Yeah. So we accept 510. What is that? That's the sale price. On the flip side of it, if there's somebody comes in and let's say they offer 490 and we negotiate back and forth, and whether it's 490, 495, whatever, we agree to a price, that's going to be the sale price.
That's the difference. Okay. Can I myself determine how much my home is worth from an internet website, for example, like Zillow?
Yeah, I would ask it this way. Do you need to go see a doctor or a lawyer, or can you just self-diagnose or do your own legal work from going through a website?
I suppose you can do it yourself, but there's chances, unless you're not an expert, that it could be inaccurate, or
Right.
it could be very generalized.
Yeah, the potential repercussions are there.
Yeah.
Right? So you can do it, right? But I think the thing to keep in mind is what we do as real estate agents, and I tell people all the time when they ask what do I do, I say all the uncertainty that's going on right now with interest rates and the economy and inflation and all of those things, they'll inevitably say, "Oh yeah, of course," and then I'll tell them, "Well, I help people navigate through all of that and buy or sell their dream of a home or a business or whatever it is, and I help them go through that process, navigate that process from everything from pricing to making the right contacts for your mortgage and mortgage rates and inspections and all of those things." I'm going to say it this way: you won't get that from a website.
That's better than I could have put it. That was really good. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
People ask me this all the time. You come up with your sweet spot price.
Yeah.
And then they kind of lean towards the Prince Charming price, right?
Yeah.
So should I price my home higher to leave room for negotiations?
No. The long and the short of it is no.
That was quick.
That's a simple answer. But what happens when you overprice a property? You end up, we call it chasing the market. And what that means is you've come in here, and the people that would have, maybe been the buyers would come in at this price point, let's say. So they've come and seen the home, they've said, "No, we're not doing that." And they go and buy it down here. Now,
something else.
Right. And at the price point you're at, people are saying, "No, there's better homes at that same price point." Right?
Right.
So now you have to do price reductions, and the problem is the people here, they're gone because they've already bought. So now you're coming down here and they're no longer here. So you're potentially doing more price reductions to get the interest back.
It almost feels like, I'm going to jump in here, and the process of trying a price and testing a price, if it takes too long, you end up chasing the market.
Yep.
You could test a price. I'm never against testing a price, but don't sit on that price for so long. If it's not working, get onto it, because you're going to start losing those buyers.
Right.
Yeah.
And I prefer to have that conversation right up front with my clients to say, look, if we're going to do this, we need to have a plan that in 10 or 20 days, whatever then we determine, if we haven't seen the interest that we want, if we haven't seen showings, if we've seen bunch of showings and there's been no offers,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with the home.
It's a pretty clear sign.
Right.
Yeah.
So
unless nothing else has been selling either.
Right.
Then you hold on. But okay.
Right.
Listing questions. How long does a listing agreement last? How long is a period of a MLS listing?
Yeah,
like a contract with a realtor
Sure.
to list their property.
It's, that there's no set time period, but by default, I do all my listings for a year, and I tell all of my clients, look, if something's not working, if something changes in your situation and you need to, you need to take your home off the market, whatever the case might be, I'm not going to be that guy that says no. Regardless of what's going on, I'm going to hold you to this and, grind it out and make you. The other side of it is, if your whatever your situation has changed, maybe financially or something like that, we can work with that. If we need to talk about maybe what's going on in the process, then communication is the key here, right?
Yeah.
To make sure we're all on the same page and everything's moving forward and everything else like that. And in theory, we're trying to get your home sold in less than a year. Oh my goodness. That would be quite the market if there was, you had something. And I've had properties before that have taken over a year to sell, but there were specific reasons for that with the home or the property or the investment or whatever it was. There was a reason for that.
So at the beginning you said it's negotiable.
Yeah.
And I always find we come up with a number depending on how it depends on the type of property.
Sure.
How long a term I would negotiate.
Sure.
So if it's a quick selling property, you're a median house, like there's many, it would fit the most amount of people. Should take the least amount of time.
Yeah.
And depending on your pricing, your location, so you're not too rural, too remote, then a normal amount of days, depending on what's indicated on, let's say, average days on market.
Right.
And then maybe longer than that, right?
Yeah. And I'll give you a flip side to that is when I'm dealing with businesses.
Yeah.
I'm typically, looking to put them on for the contract for a year.
Because it might take that long to get that right buyer. Well, it's very specific.
Yeah.
Right? If you're selling a hair salon where how many hair people or people that want to get in that business are looking, it's a small market.
Right.
So you need more time.
Yeah. And there's certainly...
so it really does depend.
Yeah. And ideally, we don't want to take a year, but ideally not. So,
okay.
You know what? I'm gonna stop us now because I think we've been going for just about like 15 minutes or something, which is probably a little bit longer than we normally do per episode.
Let's split this up into two parts,
maybe
3 parts.
We'll be back and cover the rest of the questions. But thank you for joining us today. If you haven't, please take a minute and just help us out by subscribing to the channel and like the video. It just helps us with getting the word out there and growing the channel. And I know we've got, you might have already seen it by now, by the time this airs. We've got some different stuff coming up with some great stories of first-time home buyers and how they managed to do it. And one of the best lines I have heard, and you guys watch for it when it comes up, is he said, "We didn't think we could buy a home because we believed everything we read on the internet."
And this wasn't somebody who's like 18, 19, 20 years old, starting their life out.
Right.
This is what they've thought for quite a long time.
Right. And this is a family.
It really shocked me.
Right. Family with a young child. And so, they're established that way. And so anyway, we've got those things coming up. So please take a minute, subscribe, like this video. If you think there's other people that would benefit from this, let them know so we can connect with them also. And if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. And I believe our contact info is in the description as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See ya.